Before the car. Before the train. Before the motorcycle. There was a machine so simple, so elegant, that it quietly changed the entire history of human movement. And almost nobody knows who built it. It didn't roar. It didn't belch steam. It didn't need fuel or horses or tracks. It just needed two wheels, and a person willing to push. But here's the part that history textbooks skip entirely. The bicycle wasn't invented because someone wanted to go faster. It was invented because millions of horses were dying, and the world was starving. The real story of the bicycle starts not in a garage or a factory, but in the middle of the worst ecological disaster the modern world had ever seen. Welcome to the beginning theory, where we uncover the hidden origins of the things that shaped our world. I'm your host, and today we're going back to the very beginning of the bicycle. And by the end of this video, you'll discover the one catastrophic event that made the bicycle not just possible, but absolutely necessary. It's 1815. You want to travel 10 miles. You have two options. You walk, and it takes the better part of a day, through mud, dust, and unpaved roads that cut up through your boots. Or you find a horse. But horses are not free. Horses eat enormous quantities of oats and hay every single day. Keeping one alive costs more money than most working-class families earn in a month. So if you were ordinary, if you were poor, if you were a farmer or a craftsman or a laborer, you walked. You always walked. And then, in April of 1815, a volcano named Mount Tambora erupted in what is now Indonesia. It was the largest volcanic eruption in recorded human history. The explosion blasted so much ash and sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere that it dimmed the sun across the entire northern hemisphere for over a year. 1816 became known as the year without a summer. Crops failed across Europe and North America. Grain prices skyrocketed overnight. People were hungry, genuinely, desperately hungry. And horses, who needed grain to survive, began dying by the tens of thousands. The animal that powered all transportation, all agriculture, all commerce, was disappearing. Cities and farms across Germany, France, and England faced a transportation collapse unlike anything they had seen before. And into this crisis, into this desperate, horseless, hungry world, stepped a German civil servant with a wild idea. His name was Karl von Drais. He was born in 1785 in Karlsruhe, in what was then the Grand Duchy of Baden, in southwestern Germany. He was a nobleman, educated, scientifically minded, and deeply frustrated by the inefficiency of the world around him. Drais worked as a forest master for the Duke of Baden. His job required constant travel, inspecting forests, measuring land, supervising workers scattered across miles of difficult terrain. So he started thinking, obsessively, what if a person could move faster than walking, without needing a horse at all? By 1817, Drais had built his answer. He called it the Laufmaschine, German for running machine. It had two wheels aligned in a single frame. It had a padded seat. It had a steering bar connected to the front wheel. And it had absolutely no pedals. You moved it by pushing your feet against the ground, striding forward, then gliding, then striding again. It looked ridiculous. It looked like something a giant child had built out of wood and wishful thinking. But it worked. On June 12, 1817, Karl von Drais climbed onto his Laufmaschine outside the city of Mannheim and set off down the road toward the town of Schwetzingen. He covered nearly 9 miles in under an hour. That was 4 times faster than walking. And he did it without a single horse. Witnesses lined the roadside and stared. Nobody had ever seen anything move like that before. Drais filed for a patent in Baden on January 12, 1818. The French called it the velocipede, meaning fast foot. The English press mocked it as the hobby horse or the dandy horse, because wealthy young Englishmen quickly adopted it as a fashionable toy. They rode them through parks in London, laughing and wobbling. The working class, who actually needed better transportation, couldn't afford one. Here's the surprising part most people never hear. Karl von Drais was not rewarded for his invention. He was not celebrated as a hero. Several German states actually banned his machine from public roads after pedestrians complained it was dangerous. He spent the rest of his life in poverty. He died in 1851, largely forgotten, his invention dismissed as a novelty. It would take another 30 years for the world to realize what he had actually given them. For nearly 2 decades after Drais's invention, the Laufmaschine sat in the corner of history, admired by almost nobody. Then, in 1863, a French carriage maker named Pierre Micos changed everything. Micos's workshop in Paris repaired velocipedes, the descendants of Drais's machine that had trickled into France. One day, a customer brought in a broken hobby horse for repair. Micos's son Ernest looked at the front wheel and asked a simple question. What if you attached cranks to it? What if your feet could push the wheel directly, instead of pushing the ground? He called them velocipedes or pedals. The press called them bone shakers, because the iron-rimmed wheels on cobblestone roads rattled the rider's skeleton for every inch of the journey. They were miserable to ride. But people bought them anyway. Then came the penny-farthing. In 1870, British engineer James Starley designed a bicycle with a massive front wheel, sometimes 5 feet tall, and a tiny rear wheel. The bigger the front wheel, the farther you traveled with each pedal stroke. It was fast. It was terrifying. And if you hit a rock or a rut in the road, you flew headfirst over the handlebars. Riders called these crashes taking a header. They happened constantly. The penny-farthing was a machine only young, athletic, reckless men would ride. Everyone else watched from the sidewalk. The bicycle was still not for ordinary people. That changed in 1885. John Kemp Starley, nephew of James, introduced the Rover safety bicycle in Coventry, England. It had 2 wheels of equal size. It had a chain drive connecting the pedals to the rear wheel. It had a diamond-shaped frame that is still the blueprint for almost every bicycle built today. The Rover cost 3 times a factory worker's weekly wage. But within 5 years, manufacturing improvements drove the price down dramatically. In 1888, Scottish inventor John Boyd Dunlop added pneumatic rubber tires, air-filled, smooth riding, and the last major obstacle disappeared. The bicycle was no longer a toy for the rich or a death trap for the daring. It was a vehicle for everyone. By the mid-1890s, bicycle factories across America and Europe were running at full capacity, and ordinary working people were buying them by the millions. The bicycle didn't just change how people moved. It changed who got to move. Women, in particular, seized the bicycle as an instrument of freedom. In 1895, there were an estimated 4 million cyclists in the United States. A significant portion of them were women who had never before been able to travel independently, without a chaperone, without a carriage, without asking permission. Susan B. Anthony, the American suffragist and women's rights leader, said in 1896 that the bicycle had done more for the emancipation of women than anything else in the world. The bicycle also directly built the infrastructure for the automobile age. In the 1890s, American cyclists organized the Good Roads movement, a nationwide campaign to pave and improve public roads. Before the car even existed at scale, bicycle riders had already lobbied the government into funding the first modern road networks. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, owned a bicycle repair shop in Dayton, Ohio. They learned the mechanical principles of balance, lightweight structures, and chain drive systems by building and selling bicycles. They used bicycle parts and bicycle thinking to build the first airplane. The machine that gave humanity flight was engineered by two men who spent their days fixing bikes. Today, an estimated 1 billion bicycles exist on Earth, more than twice the number of cars. In the Netherlands, bicycles outnumber people. In Beijing, before the car boom, an estimated 9 million people cycled to work every single day. All of it, traces back to one starving German forest master and a volcanic winter that killed the horses. Here is the thought I want to leave you with. Karl von Drais didn't invent the bicycle because he was a visionary. He invented it because the world ran out of horses. A volcano erupted on the other side of the planet. The sky went dark. The crops failed. The horses died. And one man looked at the disaster and asked, "What do we do now?" So here's what I want you to think about. If the climate hadn't changed in 1816, if the horses had survived, would we have ever needed the bicycle at all? Drop your answer in the comments below. Subscribe to The Beginning Theory, because every great thing had a beginning. I'll see you in the next one.